Hello, chapter 41. The story's nearly finished. And Greta has realised that Hercufleas saved her and saved everybody and changed Yuck back into the green monster. Got that rattlesnake out of his brain. Chapter 41. Tumba was saved, but so much had been lost. Homes could be rebuilt and rubble cleared. But how did you mend the sorrow and silence? Those things will not be healed by anything but time, and time works at its own pace and will not be rushed. The green giant came back to Tumba in the months that followed. Where else could he go? He was alone, and the other green giants were still sleeping, lost out there among the trees. Mayor Wits put him to work clearing rubble, and among the dead streets he spread what life he had to give: wild flowers, autumn grass, and fruit trees. He looked so different to Yuck, and was so gentle that the Tumba folk soon thought of him as a different creature altogether. Pulling the rattlesnake from his head had torn out many of his memories too, so that he could not remember his own name, only that it started with a Y. Mayor Wit suggested he choose a new name, but the green giant insisted that name could not just spring out of nothing, it needed time to grow. So it was that the Tumba folk called him Y to begin with, and every month the green giant chose the next letter to add to his name. Time passed, and Y became Yarn, and then Yana, and Tumba came slowly back to life. The Fleemily remained in the town too for a while. Min and Pin wanted to leave as soon as possible. After all, they had a new hero to take back to Avalon and hire out at Happily Ever Afters, which they could run themselves now Mr. Stickler was gone. I'll have the Fleas draw up a contract as soon as we're back, Min gabbed to Hercufleas. I'll hire you out for giant slaying and rescues, and I think we should talk merchandise too. Just think, Yuck action dolls, toothpicks in the shape of your sword, giant bogey green gobstoppers with a toy flea inside. Obviously we'll have to put choking hazard on the packet. But though the Fleemily talked about starting up a new business hiring heroes and repairing the house set, and maybe even adding a jacuzzi to the bathroom, somehow they kept off leaving Tumba. There was just so much to do. Itch, Titch and Tittle typed up a whole new library of books for the school. Burp and Slurp started up a flea circus to entertain the Tumba folk, tightrope walking across 2 broom handles connected with cotton thread. Dot painted the nails of the roostwives with tiny frescoes, portraits and still lifes and Petrosian landscapes. She got so good that people started to call her Leonardo da Vinci. That's a play on words from Leonardo da Vinci. And Titchy is small, isn't it? Everyone had a job, and when they sat together in the evenings and recited the plea of the flea, they were truly thankful to be together. They laughed and jumped and joked, just like before. There was only one thing missing. The Fleemily needed a home. It wasn't just that the house hat was a wreck. It had been ruined long before Yuck by Stickler. The Fleemily were never quite able to enjoy their pantry of exotic blood or the boingy-boing room after finding out their host had paid for it all by hiring out villains as well as heroes. At first, Hercufleas suggested they should live with Greta, but she never built her house of logs, the one she had spoken of when they were out in the waste. Life was hard for her for a long time. Although she had helped save Tumba, Greta could never be saved from her own past. It was always there. Her parents were gone, and they would always be gone, and every day hurt. But Hercufleas had given her a future, and though it was not quite a happily ever after, still Greta filled it with what happiness she could. There were the evenings she spent with Mayor Wits, eating sweet beetroot pies, drinking nettle tea, and telling stories in the warm light of the stove. Evenings that reminded her of her parents. There was Artifacts with his soft white feathers that she stroked and his loving purple eyes. Artifacts who reminded her so much of Wuff. There were the long days she spent up on Yarnarik's head, which had grown into a meadow of sage and chamomile, watching the earth stretch endlessly away to the west and endlessly return from the east. Sometimes she took her axe up there, and other tools too, though what she was making she never told anyone, except Hercufleas. Hercufleas. As always, he was the voice whispering hope in her ear, the one constant on her shoulder. It was Hercufleas who saved Greta again and again whenever grief threatened her. He never stopped being her hero. Oh, they are such good friends, aren't they? 6 months after the Battle of Tumba, Greta rode artifacts out into the Woodent. The roost wife who saw her go said she crossed the bridge without dropping her tears into the river. When Hercufleas heard that, he knew she wasn't ever coming back. No one knew where she went. The Cinderwick men said it was to Avalon to tell the truth about Prince Zin and Ugor. The Cossacks shook their head. Greta had gone to the Sorrows to try to find a way to bring life back to the Salt Lakes. No, clucked the roost wives. She went back to the Waste to live with Sir Klaus and the Musketeers. Hercufleas did not know who was right. On the morning that Greta left, she didn't say goodbye. When he woke, still snuggled in her green scarf, it lay draped on the ground. She hadn't even left a note, just a single drop of her blood in a thimble there beside him. Hours later, after he had searched all through the town calling her name, he came back and drank it down. It was sweet and full of sorrow, leaving a lump in his throat for hours. But for the first time, the bitterness had gone. That night in his dreams, he saw a fierce, bramble-haired girl riding a bird through the trees, searching for the giants, green and great as cathedrals, who lay dreaming deep in the forests. He saw her reach them, though it was many years in the future and she had grown old. He watched her wake the giants and lead them back to Tumba to find their lost brother who had wandered off while they slept. And just before Hercufleas woke, he saw the green giant, whose name had grown as long as it would fill a book, reunited with his family, and in that moment Greta's grief finally left her forever. But in truth, where Greta went was known only to her, for no two hearts beat alike, nor break alike, and so each must be mended in its own way. I wish I'd told her the truth, Hercufleas said to Meerwitz a month after Greta left. I never explained about the Black Death. Meerwitz polished her gold key. What about it? She asked innocently. Hercufleas sighed. You were wrong, he admitted. When I got there, inside that chest where it was, I saw the truth. Yes, it would have destroyed Yuck, but it wouldn't have stopped there. It would have carried on killing, on and on. First the Tumba folk, then Petrosia, then the world. Sir Klaus told me only evil can come of the Black Death, so I didn't drink it. I didn't take its power. He expected surprise, but she just looked crafty at the fox on the handle of her walking stick. Dear little flea, she said, by the time you reached the Black Death, you didn't need its power. Hercufleas looked at her. He thought back to that time long ago when Meerwitz had sat knitting Greta's scarf and his destiny into being. You never wanted me to bring the Black Death back, he realised. But why did you send us all that way if you knew it was for nothing? I knew no such thing, Meerwitz answered crossly, and some power did come back with you. Hercufleas groaned. Meerwitz was getting forgetful in her old age. I already told you, he said. I did not say the power was in you, Meerwitz interrupted. Hercufleas frowned. It wasn't. She shook her head. It was in Greta. Greta? Greta. She nodded. When she left here, her heart was cold and despairing. All our hearts were. She came back carrying a flicker of hope, like a tinder fly within her heart, and look at the fire it sparked, even in you. Hercufleas shook his head. The wise old babushka was right. We're all fleas feeding off of a creature called hope, he grinned, remembering Sir Klaus, and suddenly he knew that Greta would be fine wherever she went and whatever she did. That's the end of the chapter, but isn't that a lovely message that we are all fleas feeding off of a creature called hope? And we all have got hope at the moment, haven't we? Hope for lots of different things. Yeah. Super. See you soon.